It's a whole new thing from Zoom now. It tells us when we're recording and when we're not recording. So that's really good. Okay, guys. So thank you very much for this evening. We're now going to continue looking at our limiting beliefs, but more so from an angle of different keys that we can use to living our best life. Because most of us, and everything I'm going to show you this evening, you know already. So for me, it was so refreshing to go through it again and say, oh, well, okay, we all got to get to a stage with saying, how do I live my best life? What is it about me being, we're so bogged down with, last week we looked at negative beliefs, we looked at boundaries that we're going to be setting and all those kind of things. But how do I move forward? So, hey, happy days, all those things are happening to us. But reality is, how do I move forward? And so that's the keys to living a best life. Now, I learned this from Tony Robbins years ago. And I'm actually very bad because I've actually let it slip. And sometimes, and it's not a good thing. So because I want to get back on track and sort of get my life back in order and be on top of my game again, I decided that let me go back to the principles. And that's why I want to share them with you this evening, because this is where I need to get myself back on track. So when we're feeling beaten, despondent, we need to ask ourselves, what's going to turn me around? What's the thing that's going to turn me around? I'm feeling beaten. I'm feeling despondent. I'm feeling discouraged. All these things are happening around me. Now, at the end of the day, it's like, am I going to just accept this as this is how it's going to be? Or what am I going to do to turn this around? And there's a few steps, but the biggest one is feeding your mind. And how important it is for us to realize that we really seriously need to be saying, how do I feed my mind? What is it that I do that I need to do to feed my mind? So as we go looking through this, we're going to really have a look at seeing how do we actually get onto that program. So the best thing for us, whenever we've been despondent and being discouraged, just stop and journal those few seconds and just say, remind myself that I'm leaving a legacy. Absolutely, Vilma. It is so important that what are our reminders and what are those things that we need to make sure that we have got in line. Okay. And so when we do this, we should understand that most of us, we should not limit the feeding of our minds. And that is where we get stuck, because we just end up going like this little rat on or little mouse on its little wheel, and it's putting along and just saying, well, okay, I'm feeling despondent, I'm feeling despaired, and then one day goes into the next day, goes into the next day. And so how we can feed our minds is through books, audiobooks. Audiobooks I love. They used to be tapes, they're now CDs that we can put in our car. In fact, they're not even those anymore. It's USBs that you can put into your cars. But your audiobooks can become your university on wheels. And if we remember at all times that repetition is the mother of skill. So when you're listening to audiobooks, or when you empower yourself to buying an audiobook, you then empower yourself to actually be able to put it on your phone, listen to it if you're taking a walk, listen to it in your car. Like, I mean, I used to think to myself, oh, well, I work from home, so all right, I'll put the audiobook in the car. So when I'd go to the shop, and what happens if I went to the shop only once a week for 15 minutes? And it's like, okay, how do I make this audiobook work for me? And then I realized, hold on a second, I'm take the dogs for a walk. And so I started listening to the audiobooks. In fact, it was when COVID started and we were stuck in the house. And now what do we do? And I then decided that, well, I need to walk around my garden. And trust me, if you ask George and Tessa, my garden at that time was minute. All right. But I eventually started walking, and I walked this beautiful pathway around, but I knew I had to walk for 20 minutes. So I didn't care how many kilometers it was, but I had to walk for 20 minutes. So I decided to listen to audiobooks while I was walking using my phone. YouTube is another great place to find a whole lot of books and things like that. So limiting feeding our minds should not be an excuse. Okay, it should definitely not be an excuse. One of my most favorite books that I ever read and started reading, and that was The Magic of Believing, because this is all about training and conditioning your mind. It's putting, for example, they would say, put your goals on a mirror, so that when you're actually reading your goals, you're actually looking at yourself in the mirror. So this is like practical things, and it just gets that whole belief system going again, that whole, oh my gosh, I've got a new goal. So let's say, for example, it is you are feeling despondent, and you are feeling like this place of despair. Then all you have to do is say, this week I'm going to find one joke today. Okay. And then find one joke that you would chuckle at and laugh at. And because laughter gets the spirit going again, and laughter makes the spirit happy. And so what gets all those happy thoughts happening? And so the magic of believing is really awesome. And it's so important for us to be reading books, because if you're not reading your books, I love what Jim Rohn says. It's an amazing quote. And the quote is this: every day stand guard at the door of your mind. Every day, stand guard at the door of your mind. So ask yourself, when I'm feeling that despondent despair, that the world is against me, and I just don't want to face the world today, ask yourself the question, who am I talking to? Who am I surrounding myself with? So, for example, I mean, we ask ourselves a question, who am I surrounding myself with? And sometimes we say, oh, I'm surrounding myself with my family and friends. But sometimes we very seldom actually analyze who the people are. So, for example, if an enemy came past and puts sugar in your coffee, what's going to happen? So you can type in for me or unmute yourself. So if an enemy came past and put sugar in your coffee, what would happen? And says nothing. You'll have
sweet coffee.
And says sweet coffee. You'll have sweet coffee. Okay.
He'll lose his hand.
Yeah, especially if you don't want coffee and he'll lose his hands. Welcome, Fernando. Awesome to have you here. Liz, welcome to have you back with us as well. But yeah, exactly. You'll have Leonie also says a sweet coffee. And that's the truth. You'll have sweet coffee. But what happens if a family or friend, somebody you trust, comes along and puts poison in your coffee? What will happen? Well, Anthony says you'll die. I actually said you'll frickin' die. He didn't say you'll die.
You'll drink it, no questions.
You would drink it, no questions. And then what will happen? You would drink it, absolutely. And without knowing it, you would just drink it. Because if you did know, you would not drink it. And so, but then obviously you're either going to die depending on the amount of poison that was put in, or you're going to be extremely sick. You're going to end up in hospital, and might end up with a stomach pump or something like that. And then something bad, you end up with a bad experience. But we don't think about that because we just absorb what our family and friends are saying around us. So what happens if all their talk is negative? What happens if their talk is, they are your family and friends after all? But somebody you don't like, your enemy, could actually be somebody who's really skilled in an area. So sometimes we actually discard what is actually going on around us because we make a prejudgment. So every single day, stand guard at the door of your mind. Who are you listening to? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you listening to? All those kind of things. So that's one way that we can actually help ourselves and also help our children and the people around us, and ask the question, so what are you listening to? Who are you listening to? What type of music are you listening to? Is it depressing? Is it uplifting? Is it encouraging? Okay. Sometimes you don't recognize the enemy at all, Vilma. You're absolutely right. That wolf in sheep's clothing. And if we're not vigilant, how can we actually make sure that we actually lift and guard our mind? And guard your heart, because that's the wellspring of life. And if you don't do that, then you're going to suffer. And so remember listening to this and saying to myself, hold on a second, because if we think about it, especially in today's age, we're living in a culture that is so full of fear. The news is full of fear. Everybody's sending you COVID nonsense stuff, and it's not COVID nonsense, but you hear what I'm saying. But everybody around us is living in a space of fear, and frustration and anger, and yet we just happen to accept it That's why, awesome. Thanks, Wilma. So learn how to recognize the enemy, you're right. But yeah, it's what is happening around me, and how do you and I help people around us to lift their spirit so that they get out of that that place of fear, that place of what's going to happen and the world's going to fall. It's like that chicken little, what's that, chicken little, or whatever it is, the sky is falling, and runs to the pig. And just because the acorn fell on his chicken little, that's right, the acorn fell on his head, and he runs off to the next person and says, oh, the sky is falling, how do you know? It hit me on the head. And then the two of them run off to the next animal and say, oh, the sky is falling, and before you know it, the whole forest is terrified because the sky is falling because an acorn fell on little chicken's head and he thought it was the sky. So what's pulling you in? Who's pulling you in? What stories are pulling you in? What negativity is pulling you in? Because if it is, it's time to actually stop that recorder and say, hold on a second, I need to change it and make sure that I now empower myself. Okay. And the only way I can empower myself is by creating momentum and keeping momentum in the right place. Because momentum is going to happen. Momentum is going to happen to you. Momentum is going to happen to me. Momentum is happening around us. But what are we being vortexed into? So it's like a whirlwind that comes past, whatever it is. And if you look at it, it's going to pull you that way. I'm just going to stop sharing here for a second just to show you my hand. So, and I was talking to someone today, and they said they've got 5 goals that they want to live. And he held up his hand to her and said, can you see the thumb? And they said, yes. And he said, can you see the little finger? And they said, yes. But in order to see the little finger, their eyes had to move. So we can't keep focused on 5 different things. So, but if you align those 5 things and you draw them together and you know there's a common thread, what's going to happen is that you can focus on all things because there's a common thread. But until there's no common thread, what's going to happen is you're running from this one to that one to the next one, and then you're dropping the ball over here because there's no commonality. There's no common goal pulling you towards it. And so when you and I are empowering ourselves with momentum, it's to say to ourselves, okay, what is it that I want? And sometimes, I'm not suggesting you chop off your finger, but sometimes you need to actually drop something, because if it's pulling your focus away from where you should be, it might be something that a friend has brought to you, which is, and they are sidetracking you into a different way. Should you go down that path, or should you actually have the courage to now go back to boundaries and learn how to say, oh, thank you so much for sharing that with me, but I'm actually going to turn it down for now. Okay, or whatever it might be, but ask yourself, I mean, and ask someone today to put their hand up in front of you and ask and say to them, ask me to look at the thumb, and then ask me. You will see your eyes have to shift. And it's the same with multitasking. Our mind is not designed to multitask. It is designed to do one task correctly and then stop and move to the next task, because that's how you and I give our full commitment and create momentum and keep things going for us. Because if we don't do that, we're the ones that are going to mess up, and then we drop the balls and that kind of thing. And that was a big aha for me today. It was just like, oh my word, I need to say, where do I fit in, and how do I say no and not accept all of what's coming on me right now? Because if I do, I'm going to have split focused. And I'm not going to be able to give everything. So empower yourself to create momentum and keep the momentum going, but know what the momentum is. All right. So do the exercise with the hand in front of you, and you'll see, oh my goodness, we can't be keeping too many balls in the air unless there's a common thread and we can bring them together. So that we can actually work on them, so one feeds off the other. But if it's one individual to another, we can end up in a lot of trouble. And ladies, us more so than men, we take on a lot of things, okay? A lot of things. And we know that, and the only momentum that's happening is you're exhausted, your momentum to your bed, because you just want to go to bed at the end of the evening. Okay. So let's make sure that you have a daily practice, and with that daily practice. So I haven't even got to the 5 keys yet of what 5 keys that are going to get us out of this. But if we don't get the mindset behind this right, we're not going to be able to do it. So what are your daily practices, and how do I keep myself continually immersed in those daily practices? Because again, we get sidetracked. So what is my process? What is my progress? How do I not lose momentum? So if my daily practice, for example, is I'm going to do Pilates on a Tuesday and a Thursday, but I'm going to rest Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's my routine. Okay, so keep that daily practice. If I decide that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I am definitely, and please don't hold me to this, George, and I'm going to whisper it in case my Yorkies hear me say this. I'm definitely going to walk at 4:30 or get home by 4:45 because it's winter now before it gets too cold, and Bella's still sleeping. She hasn't heard me yet. So then I need to say to myself, why am I not fully immersed? Where is my attention going? And this is where I realized I'm losing control of my days, and I'm losing control of my weeks. And it's now 4 weeks I've been doing what I'm doing, and I haven't found my progress to happiness. I'm still keeping myself in a space of confusion. Okay, so I'm still keeping myself in a space of confusion, which means I'm not fully immersed. And I'm the only person who can work out what my daily routine is going to be. How am I going to keep this daily routine? What am I going to put into place in order to maintain the daily routine? Because otherwise I'm going to mess it up. Okay, we will only move if we're uncomfortable enough. 100%, Vilma, absolutely 100%. If only when we're totally uncomfortable enough, or the pain is more than enough. I always remember George and Tessa will remember the story. In fact, Liz, you'll George, Tessa, yeah, you might remember Liz from an Amway days. The story of so there's this couple that's living in a community, and this very big vicious dog next door is crying and crying and crying. So now the people next door want to say, well, like, what is wrong with? But they're not going to go to this yard because this is a vicious dog. And the neighbors never told them that they'd actually gone away on holiday. So this dog is crying and crying and crying. So now they need to go in and see, Vilma, you remember the story, go and see what's wrong with the dog. And they're not going into the garden. So they throw a piece of steak over, but the steak falls short of where the dog is lying. And any dog who would see this piece of steak should get up and go and get it. But the dog just keeps crying, keeps crying, keeps crying. And so this is going on for 2 days, 3 days. And they eventually trying to coax the dog out of why he is crying. And what they found out was when they eventually managed to get the dog to move, the dog was actually lying on a nail. And the nail was not hurting it enough for it to actually move itself out of its comfort zone. In other words, get up and go and get the piece of meat. So it wasn't really hungry. It could reach the water that was next to it. It could reach the food that was next to it. But it kept crying because the nail was making them uncomfortable. And isn't that what we hear a lot of people? They, excuse the expression, they bitch and moan all day long. They complain about situations, but they're just not prepared to go and do something to get themselves out of that situation. And it's exactly what Vilma is saying. It's only when you're more than uncomfortable will you actually get up and move. And so most people, that it's not uncomfortable enough for them to actually make a change. And so this is what we need to say is, how uncomfortable am I with my current daily routine? Because if I stay the way I'm going to end up tired when I get home every day. I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to feel guilty because my Yorkies have a way of actually telling me that I should have gone for a walk today with them. They're very clever. They're very manipulative. Okay. And they know how to tell me that I should have taken them for a walk. All right. So am I going to live in that space, or what am I going to actually do? All right. So something just popped up on my screen. Oh, okay, there we go. I have no clue what is happening here. There we go. All right. So let me get back to there we go. All right. So your progress is going to lead to happiness. So what amount of happiness do I actually want? Okay. So when we think about it, the first key, all right, now we've got the 5 keys. Okay. So now we've got mindset behind all this. So if this is a reality, the first key is if you want to change something, you need to read for 30 minutes a day or listen to an audio book. But the important thing is it's not about the novels. It's not about storybooks. It's about what is it that I want to change. So I need to read strategic books, strategic novels. So right now I feel my time management is not good. I'm feeling I'm out of time management. So it would be good for me to read maybe a book on Pareto principle or something like that, or somebody that I listen to, somebody I admire that actually has it all together. So when you are reading and you want to actually live a best life, we need to make sure that the books that we're reading are relevant to create the strategy for us to move forward. Because great ideas are never going to interrupt you. You have to go pursue them. So if you want great change, you need to go and pursue. So if you don't pursue, you're going to end up the same as somebody else. So for example, what happens is that most of us, we wait for something to come to us. So for example, I might belong to a YouTube channel, Robert Sharma's YouTube channel, Tony Robbins' YouTube channel. And so what I do is I wait for he uploads his latest download of whatever it is that he's got. So it comes in, I get a notification. Invariably, because I'm waiting for something to come to me, I ignore it. But if I make a decision, I'm going to listen to Tony Robbins today and I'm going to do it at 6 o'clock, I pursue it. And what you pursue, you do. All right. So what you wait for to come to you, you ignore. And so if we understand that for me to read 30 minutes a day or listen to an audiobook 30 minutes a day, I need to ask myself, what am I pursuing? Because we need to remember there's so much negativity around us at the moment. And the people around us are not focused on pursuing. They're focused on just what can come my way. And so we pick up that same DNA, and so we don't pursue. So when you want to change something, so that if I need to pursue the fact that I need to read 30 minutes a day, how am I going to do it? Where am I going to do it? What am I going to do? And then document it, and then go back to the mindset that I say, I'm going to create the momentum and I'm not going to have it interrupted. Okay, because success leaves clues. We've heard this many, many times, that success leaves clues. So if you want things to get better, we have to get better. And what is it that I need to get better in? And for me, and this is why I went back to listening to Tony Robbins' chat again this week, because I thought, I'm just losing it. I'm losing control of my life. I'm losing control of me. I'm losing control of where I'm going and what my focus is. And the reason is because I don't have structure anymore. I used to have structure, but then when I became the CEO of My Wealth Academy and I started going to the workplace, I lost my structure. And I haven't put structure back in place around my new time frames. And so it's causing me uneasiness, unhappiness, and turmoil. So key number 1, read 30 minutes a day. And the reason you need to read 30 minutes a day is because if you let your learning lead to knowledge, you become a fool. If you let your learning lead to action, that's when your life changes. And this is why whatever you're reading for 30 minutes a day needs to be reading for 30 minutes a day, audiobook for 30 minutes a day, or YouTube, whatever it is that you're listening to. You must ask yourself, what is the actionable thing I've heard? So what is the one-liner out of that I'm going to take away and apply today? Where am I going to apply it? How am I going to apply it? Because if you don't apply it, you're not going to learn, because knowledge, I love that. If you let your learning lead to knowledge, you become a fool. If you let your learning lead to action, that's when we create life change. So that's the first key. There are 5 very simple keys, but I just wanted to expand on this one quite a lot, and because it is a difficult one for most of us to get around. Okay. Key number 2, every day feed and strengthen your body. And you know, this affects your mind. And I really didn't believe in stuff like this. I honestly didn't. And for me, it was, it's like, cooking is not my thing. I'm definitely not going to listen to like, I'm just going to eat whatever's in my way and what's the easiest, and eggs and toast for dinner is my hubby's happy, he's been fed. Okay. And that was me. Like, if you got eggs and toast for breakfast, lunch, and supper, you were very lucky that I cooked 3 meals. All right. But it wasn't for me. And it really wasn't. And it was only because I've been embarking on a journey with George and Tessa and Anthony. And then Tessa started teaching me about eating correctly. All right. Now, Tessa's a great cook, and she does like amazing things. Like, she's a real boffin in the kitchen, and like, I'm like her friend, and I'm like the total opposite, you know. And it's like, okay, you know, it's kind of like, please, George, don't tell Anthony what you had for dinner, because it's not fair on Anthony. Okay. So and then I started seeing results and how healthier Tessa was getting, and how healthier her hair was looking, and just her skin tone and all that. And I was like, okay, Tessa, what's up? What you doing? And she said, look, she's found a dietitian, and what that was the story. So it took me about 2 weeks after she said that for me to think, oh, I don't believe in this nonsense. And then I said, okay, maybe I just need to, because now her results were getting, and I was doing like, we were doing Pilates the same time, we were exercising the same, we were doing everything the same, except she did walk extra in the morning, because I wasn't going to do that. But I thought, but she's getting results, I'm not. So I thought, okay, let me test this dietitian thing. Okay. So I went to dietitian, and I cannot tell you, literally, 10, 11 weeks later, how that has affected my mind. And for me, who's not a morning person, I don't like getting up in the morning. I prolong getting up in the morning. Even if I go to bed late, when my alarm goes off, I get up a lot easier. I'm not saying I get out of bed, but the time frame that it used to take me 30 minutes to just register that my eyes open, it's now taking me 10 minutes. It's not 30 minutes. So I have an extra 20 minutes in the morning that I'm feeling alert. I'm feeling alive the whole day. My energy is higher. I'm clearer at thinking. And that's what really made me think to myself, now I know what Tony Robbins, and it was one of the key things that I always ignored. I never followed this one until just recently. So I just want to thank George and Tessa for that, and Tessa for putting me in touch with a really great dietitian, because it has affected the mind. So what we need to understand with the mind, so it's feeding your body, strengthening your body, because basically, bottom line is that fear is going to keep you from doing this. Courage does not mean you're afraid. And the reason why I did not do this was because I was fearful that I wouldn't be able to get it right. And that's why I didn't embark on this healthy eating and looking at how to strengthen your body and things like that, because I was fear of failure. And then I realized it was courage for me to actually go ahead and do it. And so, for example, we're all fearing things right now, like COVID. COVID is a fear. There's all reasons. And I didn't realize that my association with food was actually the fear of failure. So I had to find courage. And then it was this: courage does not mean that you are afraid. Courage means you're afraid, but you're going to do it anyway. And so that's what I actually ended up doing, is I had to actually get the courage. And it sounds so stupid, okay, to in actual fact say, how do I feed my body every single day? All right. So when it comes to strengthening your body, eating correctly, just check what you're eating, but do something at least five days a week. Transform your body in 15 minutes a day. Develop a daily discipline, okay? Because determination is a sense of will. Just go and do it. Do 5 push-ups. Do 1 minute of planking. Just do something, but just do it in the focus area that you want to do, but do something. Don't not do anything. So this is something else. And I just said it to Tess and the Pilates instructor this afternoon. I said, you know what, I'm out of routine. And she said to me, you know what, Michelle, bring your weights in front of the TV, put them here next to the TV. And while you're watching a 15-minute program, just do your weights. I mean, like, how simple was that? That was like such an easy strategy. And it's like, oh my, I can do that. I just have to move my weights from that side of the room to this side of the room. And if I sit down to watch TV, it's a 30-minute program, 40-minute program, I can just do a few weights or whatever it might be. Okay. So, but the determination is going to be what is my will? What is my sense of will? And how do I really want to develop this daily discipline? Okay. Number 3, get a role model and get a plan. Okay. Get a role model and get a plan. This sounds simple, but there is somebody who has a story very similar to yours. Okay. And so if you can find somebody whose story is the same. So for example, my Pilates instructor is an amazing role model for me when it comes to exercising and looking after herself. So I've chosen her as my role model. Tess is my amazing role model when it comes to eating correctly and the sacrifices that she's willing to make. I don't even make a tenth of the sacrifices that Tessa makes to get the result, but she's getting the result because she's sacrificing. And so get a role model and then get a plan around that role model. So now I'm trying to work out my daily diary and how do I fix that out. So I need to find somebody who's mastered that skill. So I thought I was pretty good at it, but I've let it go. So I just need to get back on track with that. So key number 3 is, if you're battling, find a role model and get a plan and stick to the plan. Try and stick to the plan for at least 21 days. Okay. Then key number 4 is very simple. Create the plan and take massive action. Just do it. Measure, monitor, and adjust as you go. Remember that part of failing is failing forward. And you're going to mess up today. You're not going to make that today. You're going to do, but then tweak it every single day until that plan that you want to adjust comes into play. So when you're reading, make sure that you're reading in the line that you want to go, not just any random book. So for example, if you're not interested in, I don't know, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for example, because that's not your focus area right now. Okay, focus area could be like mine is prioritizing. Then read on prioritizing, because it's stuff you might know, but you need to get your brain going. Then make sure that you're exercising. Make sure that you've got yourself into that situation where you've got a role model, you've got someone that you can look up to or talk to or be held accountable. With creating the plan as accountability, take massive action. Just do it. Just do it until it comes right. And then fail forward. It's okay. And that was my biggest thing, is my fear of failure was my biggest thing. But I've realized, fail forward. Hey, you stuffed up today. Get back on the horse tomorrow. Okay. Then key number 5 is always give more than you expect to receive. Okay. So especially when you're at your lowest, if you're feeling the worst today and you're having a bad day, ask yourself, who can I go serve? Who can I ask that I can help? And this is one of the keys to living your best life, is every single day say, who can I serve? Because what it does is, when you give more than you receive, it lifts your spirit. It lifts the human spirit. So always remember, when you're doing something for someone else, don't keep score. Just do it because it's the right thing for you to do. All right. And find someone who's worse off than you and help them, because it gives you, even though you're feeling like maybe you're feeling not so good today, you're feeling worthless, you're feeling discouraged, you're feeling helpless, you're feeling overwhelmed, then who can you help? So, I mean, when I started looking at this last week and trying to get my act together, my schedule today is like, I'm so overwhelmed. I was back to back with meetings, and I thought, if I want to come out of this with sanity, I need to go and ask one of my work colleagues, how can I help them? Because the moment I take myself, even though my schedule is overloaded, if I keep there, I'm going to end my day feeling overloaded. But if I remove myself from my schedule and I go and ask somebody, how can I help you? And they say, I'd love a cup of coffee. And I walk down the passageway and go and get a cup of coffee. and bring it to them. I help them. I've taken some time out of my day, but also it was going the extra mile for someone else. Give more than you actually always expect to receive. Find someone that needs your help. Always remember that life is not about me, it's about we. It's not about me, it's about we. And if we keep these 5 principles close at hand, and just remember that's how you and I are going to put ourselves onto a journey of, in actual fact, living our best life. Because living your best life is in actual fact about saying to myself, hold on a second, where do I need to measure, monitor, adjust? And it's just keep it as simple as read 30 minutes a day, audio or whatever's good for you. Specifically make sure that you're reading in the area of where you need to grow. 2 is that make sure you're feeding your body and giving your body some sustenance every single day. All right, even if it means a 15 minutes walking on the spot or whatever it might be. Tony, when I heard this from Tony Robbins, it was the funniest thing. And he says, I've got lots of houses. And I was like, oh, really? He says, no, I travel a lot and I've earned a lot of money. So I've got lots of houses. I have them all over the world. But I'm like, okay, cool. That's pretty cool. What's that got to do with like exercising? So he says, because he travels so much, what he's done in each and every one of those homes is he's put in a cold pool. So a cold pool is where the water is almost like ice. And all he does every single day, because he says the moment your body hits that, every muscle in your body tenses. Okay. Oh, there's another puppy. Beautiful. Leonie, too cute. No, puppies are welcome. Puppies are all welcome here. You haven't seen George's. No, you haven't seen George and Tessa's little rascal. He's the cutest thing ever. He's in love with my Yorkie. But so he says, and that's all he does is every single, whatever house he's in, because he doesn't get time to actually physically go to a gym and exercise, he goes and he jumps in that pool. He stays there for literally as long as he possibly can and gets out. And that's how he keeps his body toned. How randomly, ridiculously stupid is that? But that's what he does because it fits into his time frame. And so everywhere he travels, he's specifically put that pool into all of his homes. He says the only house he hasn't done it is the house that's in the snow, wherever it is, that's always snowing. It's probably Alaska. Because he doesn't need to, he just needs to walk in the snow in his shorts and his t-shirt, and he's just roll in the snow, and then he's done. So yeah, sauna is a different thing. Hey Wilma, not these women ask things, but that's what he's trying to share, is that the impact of doing something consistently, and it doesn't have to be 2 hours at the gym. Whereas most of us, when we think about exercising, we're thinking of 2 hours in the gym, and then we don't do it because we don't have the time. So it's just the principle of doing some small little things consistently. Okay. And then number 3 was find a role model in the area that you want to improve, and role model on your role model. And, you know, from that role model, get a plan. And that's what I love about, you know, all the different people that we're working with, is that they're successful in various areas. And, you know, I was very relieved because, I know somebody that was a dietitian, and they were a little bit plump and overweight and all the rest of it. And that's probably why I didn't believe in dietitians, to say the least. Okay. So when Tessa gave me the name of this lady, and I'd like go driving to wherever it was, and I'm like, I just hope this lady looks a little bit good, because I don't want to go to join. And I never thought to ask Tessa, like, what does she look like? I thought that's a bit vain, you know. But I was very, very, very pleased that she really looks after herself. And even she's like, when she does a smoothie or whatever it is, or detox, she actually sends you pictures, and the accountability is great. So she's a great role model to stick with that. So that's what it's about. And that's what's encouraged me, is because she's living what she's asking me to do. Okay, and that's role models. And then, of course, once you've created the plan, this is where most people fail in having their best life. And that is that they don't take massive action. Put the plan together, but then they procrastinate. And procrastination is the greatest thief of time, and it's just going to steal from us. So what is my plan of action, even if it's something small? And then, of course, 5, you know what? Give to someone else and do more than what you expect to receive every day. Find someone you can help, even if it's something small. Any questions? Anybody like to add anything, share what they've learned? But for me, this is my focus area now for the next couple of weeks. And that's why I thought, let me share with you, because I need to master all of these again, because I've let them get out of line. Okay, she sent me ahead. I love it, George. Yeah, well done, Tessa. She sent George ahead to look at what she looked like, and if she was fat, Tessa would cancel. And she's not. She's really. So she's really a lovely person. But I agree with you, George. Well thought out, Tessa. At least we would have had that. We would have definitely had the truth from George. That's for sure. But yeah. And she just absolutely adores George. She's like pretty cool.
So, Dr. Michelle?
Yes.
After our
Hey guys,
summit day,
Hold on. Sorry. Let me just unplug. Doc can't hear. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
My apologies. Go for it, Liz.
after our talk at the summit, Wayne has also contacted a dietitian to see if he can sort out his system and so on. So we're also going to do that. So that was an inspiration from you that also
Awesome.
led to this to happen now on this
my
side. So
word.
thank you.
That's a pleasure. Awesome. That's what it's about. It's just how it cascades around people. That's awesome. Thanks, Liz. You want to
Okay.
share?
Yeah, how's it, everybody? Now you can see me. I'm back on this side. For me, the plan of action is just, talk is cheap. Everybody here got information tonight. My challenge is to all of us who will write it down and who will do it. Bottom line. And you know what? At the times when you don't feel like it, I literally just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom! I fall down. I do my push-ups. I do my
He
plank,
does.
and I just do it.
And I'm like looking, thinking, oh, you had to do that, didn't you? Because now I have to. Yeah. George, I cannot believe how much weight you've lost. Look at him. There's
Amazing.
like, it's ridiculous. Jump, yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, jump.
There. Well done, George.
Jeez, it's amazing. It's so encouraging. And that's what role models are about, and doing things, accountability, doing things with others and not in isolation.
Well, with that being said, I mean, think about it. George and Tess are next door to us, and we really co-encourage each other. And, we keep each other on track. And it's very, very encouraging that we're not in this alone, and therefore partner up with somebody, get a buddy, and have joint goals and write them down together and make yourselves accountable to each other. It really is working. Like, for instance, lately, because of our work conditions have changed, we're under immense pressure. All of a sudden, I can't run like I used to run every morning. It was too cold now. Then I can't run in the evenings because
It's too cold.
I finished too late, frankly. So I've had to make another plan, and that is like, all right, what can I do differently? And I've made the plan that every time my wife's in the shower, I use the time to plank and do my push-ups. And by the time I shower, I've done something, but I do it every single day. It doesn't matter. It's just a little bit, but I do it.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference.
And that's why I thought, let's share practically from our side what we're now doing, because we realize that we really, really, really are losing control of our lives, and how do we get back to the basics to make sure that we have living that best life. And so because I've even stopped reading, because it's like just no time. And then I realized, oh no, then I've got excuses. Oh no, but I'm reading about this, but it's all job related. It's not reading for me, and that's the big mistake. It's not taking me forward as a human being. So yeah, awesome. Anybody else like to add anything? Vilma, you good? Tessa? George, go for it.
Yeah, I just want to, the last part where you said, just maybe help other people, stuff like that. And a person has to look for opportunities as well. Like, and you guys know what I did in the last week or two, when those people from that place where all their houses burned down and everything, and those people were sitting without anything. I just started something rolling with a group that I have of old soldiers, and we just put it out and we started collecting. And I have now taken, I think, today we went with a second bucket load of blankets and clothes and food. that came through as donations, and we went to take it to those people and just gave it to those people. I mean, that's something that you do. It makes you feel good because you're helping other people as well. So I think it's just looking for an opportunity. That's what happened. And just use the opportunity when you get it, because it does something to you as well. I mean, it just does.
That's true, George. And you're right. There are so many opportunities out there. Yeah, there's so many opportunities out there. It's just that we need to go and say, look for them, find them. What resonates with you, and go and do it. And it is important because it lifts the human spirit, and it makes the world about we and not me. Awesome, cool. Marina, you good? You want to type anything? Leon, you want to type anything? Sonia, type anything? Say anything? You all good? Fernanda, Isabel? Yes, Sonia, how's it?
How are you guys?
Very well, thanks. And you?
Just very cold.
Yeah.
I must say, everything that you've spoken about tonight, I actually started with this whole process about 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
And because I was always afraid of failure, I must say, since my mindset has changed, I activated a dormant client.
Wow.
From our recruitment side, and we're actually working on 12 positions for them. So,
wow.
And with starting to exercise again, our personal trainer that I've got, she's a nutritionist as well. Not really diet plan, but a healthy meal plan that she gives to us.
Yes.
And by exercising and following that meal plan again, I must say my energy levels are much higher.
Yeah.
I'm starting to gain more confidence again. And I actually also started listening to YouTube channels about gaining confidence, positivity.
Fantastic.
And I'm actually doing a short course on psychological first aid.
Wow. That sounds fantastic.
Share with us.
It's actually very, very interesting.
Wow.
By just sitting back and listening to a person where they talk about their feelings.
Wow.
Listen to someone. You don't always have to say something to them, but listen, because that's sometimes the only thing that people need.
Wow.
Just an ear to listen to. But I must say this whole journey has really changed actually my personality, my mindset. And where I used to be a real introvert, I'm actually starting to communicate with like executive directors.
Wow.
And I'm not afraid to go out and talk to them anymore.
That is fantastic.
So this when I listened to tonight's session, it's actually exactly what I started doing for the past, say, 2.5 weeks now.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Thank you very much for tonight as well. It's just amazing.
It actually just confirms you're on the right track, which is awesome. So thank you, and well done. And I think you said something. You said you're changing, and I want to correct that, if you don't mind me correcting it. And only what I want to say is that what you've found, you haven't changed. You've found the diamonds that are inside you, and because you're going on the confidence, you yourself have brought them out, and now the real you is coming forward, and that's exciting. So that's exciting.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a job.
Awesome.
That's my personal trainer actually has a body transformation challenge on the go now.
Yeah.
And I'm assisting her with all the admin work. So I'm sending out the daily videos and programs and everything for the ladies that's in the challenge.
Awesome.
And I must say that every day, somewhere, someone is getting despondent.
Yeah.
Because they're not losing the amount of centimeters that they want to. And that's also where I actually decided just to send them a motivational quote every day.
Yes.
And if they feel like talking, talk. I will
Brilliant.
give them, I'm not a personal trainer, but I will give them advice wherever I can.
Awesome.
But that's just motivate people around you,
So true.
and they will start feeling better as well.
Awesome. And I must say thank you for mentioning that, because that's exactly one of the things that I actually really appreciated from the dietitian that sends us our eating plan, as you quite rightly say. It's not a diet plan, it's an eating plan. And she sends an affirmation with that every single day. So it's I listen to my body. I love my body. I'm very happy with where my body is at right now. And I found that very, very encouraging. I love what I'm eating, you know, because clearly I don't love what I'm eating because it's blah and more blah and more blah. But it is. So Sonia, what you're doing is so vitally important to encourage those women is because just to send those affirmations, and that's so well done on that. Just listening to your spirit and just following through on that one. So well done. That is vital.
Yes, no, for sure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Great, guys. You've got to do good to do good. Yeah, you've got to do good to do good. You're right, Vilma. Awesome.
Oh, look at Leonie there. Weights are moving to a lounge tomorrow. I like that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So that we will like look at them and we're just going to watch Survivor or something, and then we're going to do our own little Survivor and like do.
But,
even if it's 15 minutes, it's better than no minutes.
But you know what? It's just starting with the basic. Let's say you decide, and I'm not going to talk to Leonie just as an example. You're moving those weights now to the lounge. But what is the plan? Because that's the part of where I actually, as a coach, come and say, no, come on, talk us cheap. So what are you going to do? You say, okay, while I'm watching X, whatever is your favorite program, I will actually do 15 each side and put the weights down. And I will do that solidly. How many days a week? 5 days a week. So actually make a commitment to something that's easy to do. Once you achieve that, you go, okay, I can do more. So that's my challenge to you, Leonie. Something like that.
So I'm just going to move my dumbbells. I'm not going to move all of the stuff. I'm just going to move my dumbbells so that I can at least start, you know, doing something and just getting this going ready for, so that's my plan, is just slowly do one lot at a time. Not the 6 kg ones. I'm going to just move the 3 kgs for now. This week is 3 kgs. Yeah, exactly.
I've got a question for Fernando and George. Why do they call it a dumbbell?
I have no idea. I have no idea because it does quite a bit of work.
It's not a lever bell, it's a dumbbell.
No, I have no idea.
I've got a question for you, Dr. Anthony and Michelle. Are you trying to go back a couple of years? Let's say you want to look like you looked when you first made your videos on your training in Marwell.
Yeah, we need to do something seriously.
You know what, Fernando? It's all about when you look towards leaving a legacy for your grandkids. You actually realize you can prolong that by being healthy. There comes a time in your life where money isn't everything, and you actually realize health is more important than money. Wealth is holistic.
Yeah.
And I just think that we got to a point in our life of saying, well, if we want to continue making a difference in the lives of other people, which is a passion area for us, are we actually influencing ourselves to change? Because we cannot move ourselves to change. How will we move others?
Yeah.
And that has become the thing. And now that we're feeling better, and I'll be honest, I think my wife looks a heck of a lot better. I love my body, by the way. I don't mind sharing that with you guys. This is great.
See what he's claiming, George.
Yeah,
Hey?
I love my body. Nothing wrong with that. But
well, I must say you're the smallest since I've known you.
It's
You
true.
are the smallest. Since I've known you now for 7 years, you've never been as small as you are now.
It's amazing, eh? It's amazing.
Thanks, George. That's lucky to hear that from a buddy that knows us well. That's for sure.
It's true.
George, go look at the Marwell training. Then you'll see the two imposters that are in those movies.
Seriously, Fernando, look, I don't know, where did you see this? Maybe give us a before and after we can see.
Yeah,
I must say, Anthony, you look younger as well with losing a bit of weight.
yeah.
Thank you. No, I love it.
I saw it there where you do the training on a disc on My Wealth under
Yes.
the academy.
Yes,
You
yes.
guys were
yes.
very young in those days. So I'm going through that program at the moment.
Okay, nice.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Michelle,
Yes.
I've got the word dumbbell for you.
Oh, yes.
It was officially coined in England during the 16th century when athletes trained with the handheld bells with the clappers removed. And without those clappers, the bells were dumb, so they didn't make a noise.
Oh, wow.
And that's why it's called dumbbell.
Oh, my word. Look
Thank
at
you,
that.
Wilma.
I've got a new name for Wilma.
Yeah?
Wikipedia Wilma.
Yes.
Wikipedia.
She's quick at finding. Oh, that's so interesting. Well, now we know why it's a dumbbell, because it's not a bell that rings.
Awesome.
Tessa, we got some knowledge we can share. Go for it, George.
Absolutely.
I say it's Google Wilma.
Google Wilma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Google my friend sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to be cheeky. I've heard from everybody. I haven't heard from Marina. Marina, come. I want to hear something from you. Spit it out. Jy kan maar Afrikaans ook praat. Reg.
Or type, it's up to you. Or just say thumbs up, all good. There we go.
Sorry. No, it's just my phone is not so working very well and it's very slow. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, I can't think now of something specific. You've put me now on the spot, hey?
But you broke through, you answered. That's what's important. We're a community. You know, we support one another.
Yeah, no, but I enjoyed this very much. I'm actually looking forward every Tuesday listening to you. So thank you for listening, Michelle. It's really
Absolute pleasure.
very learned a lot so far.
Awesome. Great stuff. Super, guys.
Well done, Marina.
Thank you so much for answering and for chatting. So, guys, I'll get you the recording. Like I said, it's stuff you all know, but it was just to get us reassessed and say, how do I live my best life, and how do I become and live my best life? So, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Cheers, Liz.
you.
Cheers, Marina.
Cheers,
Cheers,
guys.
George.
Cheers, little
Cheers,
boys.
guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers, Wilma.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
Tess. Bye, Sonia. Cheers.